The nurse turned off the life support machine, and the room fell silent. All that remained was the steady hum of the heart monitor as it drew a flat line across the screen. Tears welled in Adil's eyes, but he didn't cry. He just stood there, frozen, staring at the frail hand he had held every night for the past 7 days. That hand, once trembling but full of warmth, now lay cold in his palm. In that moment, all the whispers, all the cruel laughter from strangers, all the mockery he had endured, none of it mattered anymore. What he had lost was not just a 71-year-old millionaire wife. He had lost the only person who had ever seen the truth in him, the only one who had looked past his broken shoes and calloused hands, and had loved him for who he was. Backhand index pointing right. Before we continue, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel, Our Apple of Hope, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the magic that can bloom from even the most unexpected stories. Red Heart. Adil was 24, an economics student in Lahore, scraping by on a scholarship, and doing 3 part-time jobs. His parents were long gone, his father had passed when he was a child, and his mother had succumbed to cancer 3 years ago. Life had been a constant struggle, the kind that wears down your hope bit by bit. Every day, he woke at dawn to deliver newspapers, then headed to college with a bag full of borrowed books, and in the evenings, he washed dishes at a roadside dhaba. He had no dreams left to chase, only debts to repay, and a younger sister to support, who was still in school. He never imagined love, or even happiness, was something life would offer him. That was until the day he met Meher Nisa. She came into his life like a strange, unexpected breeze on a stifling summer day. Adil had been delivering newspapers to a gated mansion when he found her sitting on the front steps, sipping tea with shaking fingers. Her silver hair was pinned into a tidy bun, and despite her wrinkled face and aging frame, there was an undeniable grace to her presence. She didn't just look at Adil, she saw him. That day, instead of just handing over the paper, he found himself sitting with her on the steps, talking about books, life, and loss. What started as a 5-minute chat turned into a daily ritual. He would drop by after classes, and they would talk for hours. She told him stories of a life filled with luxury but void of affection, how her only son had abandoned her for inheritance disputes, how silence echoed through the mansion after her husband's death. Adil never once thought anything more would come of it. He wasn't seeking anything, not money, not favors. All he felt was a connection, a strange comfort that neither of them could explain. Until one rainy evening, she asked him, without hesitation or hesitation in her voice, "Would you marry me?" It sounded absurd. She was 71. He was 24. But her eyes weren't mocking. They were pleading. She told him she didn't want to die alone. She wanted to give the last days of her life meaning, to feel young again, if only through someone else's eyes. In return, she promised financial security, enough for him to clear his debts, support his sister, and live with dignity. He didn't say yes immediately. He spent 3 sleepless nights battling the storm inside him. Was it wrong? Was he selling his soul? But in the end, it wasn't the money that swayed him. It was the way she smiled when he talked. The way she listened when no one else did. They were married in a quiet ceremony with no guests, no flowers, just 2 strangers binding their lives out of loneliness, not love. Or so he thought. The first 3 days were awkward. They lived in separate rooms. But gradually, Meher opened up more, she laughed more, even danced one evening to a song from the 70s while Adil watched, half amused and half stunned. She showed him old photo albums, took him around the city in her vintage car, and cooked him biryani from a long-lost family recipe. They were no longer strangers. Something in those quiet evenings began to bloom, not romance, perhaps, but something purer. A kind of affection that didn't need physical touch to feel real. On the 6th night, she gifted him a key. "For the drawer beside my bed," she said. "If anything happens to me, open it." He didn't think much of it. But on the 7th morning, she collapsed. A massive stroke. The doctors tried everything, but her frail heart couldn't fight anymore. As she slipped into unconsciousness, Adil held her hand, whispering stories she loved, praying for a miracle. It never came. After her death, numb and grief-stricken, he remembered the key. He opened the drawer, expecting maybe a will or old letters. But what he found made his hands tremble. Inside was a journal, a thick envelope, and a USB drive. The journal was filled with pages she had written since the day they met. Entry after entry, she poured her heart into the words, describing how Adil made her feel alive, how he reminded her of everything beautiful in life. She called him her final sunrise. She wrote of his kindness, his laughter, his pain. Each page was soaked with emotion, not just hers, but his, reflected back through her understanding. The envelope contained a letter. She had rewritten her will. Adil was now the sole heir, not just to her wealth, but to her foundation, Nisa's heart, a charitable trust dedicated to abandoned elderly people and underprivileged youth. You will know how to run it, she had written. Because you've lived both sides of pain, the young and the old. The USB had a video. Her final message. She was smiling, her voice soft and steady. I didn't rescue you, Adil. You rescued me. Thank you for loving me, even when you didn't have to. Adil wept. For hours. Not because he was now rich, not because life had suddenly transformed, but because he had felt something true, and lost it before he could even name it. In the following weeks, he quit his part-time jobs, paid off his loans, and moved into the mansion not as an owner, but as a custodian of her legacy.